Today, we're going to break down one of the questions that we hear pretty frequently this time of year as it relates to winter. What does everybody do for fun in the high country? I'm Jeremy with the Gillette Group in the High Country, and today I want to talk about why winter is one of the most magical times in the high country. So whether you are a full-time resident, maybe you're a second homeowner, or someone just dreaming about vacationing in the mountains, we're going to talk about why it's almost like living in a snowboard. Today, I'm going to break down what people actually do in the winter time. We'll talk about activities, we'll talk about lifestyle, talk about tradition, and what makes this just such a special season in the high country. I've talked about this before in the videos, but of course, the first thing people are going to do and what it's most known for is skiing and snowboarding. You've got Beach Mountain, which is the highest ski resort east of the Mississippi. Just down the street from that is Sugar Mountain, which honestly is some of the biggest vertical drop you're going to find in the southeast. And then much more family friendly, a great place to learn is App Ski. So you have 3 locations to ski and snowboard in a pretty small area. That's kind of unique, especially when you think about Beach and Sugar sit on either side of Banner Elk, and they're only about 10 minutes apart. And while I mentioned App Ski being more family friendly, really they're all family friendly. I guess what I'm trying to say is that App Ski, it's more beginner friendly. And in fact, their ski school is probably the best as it relates to beginners and just learning how to get up, whether it's snowboarding or skiing. So what does it look like from a lifestyle perspective? Well, your families are going to come up predominantly over the weekends. On the holiday weeks, those weekends become weeks. So you're going to see it's really busy. Most weekends it's going to be busy anywhere from Thanksgiving through probably mid-March. And then what you see is like the locals, they're going to ski after work in many cases. It's busier on the weekends, but then it's slower during the week. So you'll see a lot of the locals will come out and do a couple runs in the evening. They typically are going to have a season pass. So for them to just come in and do a couple runs, it's not as bad. The traffic's not as bad. And then for the second homeowners, they're going to come up just to get their fix. And it could be anytime. Could be actually more during the week if they have the flexibility, especially if they rent that place on the weekends. All right, so now let's talk about tubing and ice skating. And before I even get into that, I think maybe as a bonus, I should talk about Beach Mountain has a town sled hill. And all winter long, they blow snow up there. So you can go sledding just about any time. And I don't remember the exact specifications, but I think it's really for kids that are 13 and under. Maybe it's 12, but you get the idea. It's really not designed for all ages, but for younger kids. And it's pretty fun. It's right behind the brick oven. So there's parking in the town lot, and you can, certainly get the kids on the sled. But as it relates to tubing and ice skating, Hawk's Nest in Seven Devils is probably the biggest tubing area in all of the southeast. It's pretty fantastic. You're definitely going to want reservations if you're going to do that. And then when I think about ice skating, Sugar Mountain really comes to the top of the list. It's got a total holiday vibe. You can do it under the light. There's music. It's pretty fun. I actually personally haven't done it, but I've actually been there and watched, and kind of makes me want to lace up a little bit and maybe get out there this winter. All right, so from a lifestyle perspective, obviously tubing, sledding, it is multi-generational. It does become tradition over time. And the ice skating, that's like classic date night kind of stuff. So if you're kind of romantic or just want to get out there with your significant other or even your kids, it's kind of storybookish. All right, so now let's talk about fireplaces. Pretty much any home you're going to purchase is going to have a fireplace. Just about any type of Airbnb that you might, or short-term rental that you might rent, is going to have a fireplace. Where you might run into some challenges now are in some of the larger condo buildings. They're starting to limit using those fireplaces, and in some cases have already converted them into non-working fireplaces. So read the description if that's something that's of value or of importance to you and you want to be able to actually smell and hear the crackle of an actual wood-burning fireplace. Just look into it, but it is totally a vibe when you're in the high country in the wintertime. Oh, and it's not just winter. I've been there many, many, many times in June where I've turned on the fireplace. And it goes far beyond just the fire in the fireplace or a fire pit as an example. It's a whole culture. So whether you've got hot chocolate, mulled wine, warm drinks, you've got board games, it's just in the background. It helps set the ambiance, and especially if it's a true wood burning, you're going to hear the pop and the crackle every once in a while from those logs. And the truth is, whether you're reading a book, playing a board game, whatever it might be, most of the homes in the high country or even the places you're going to rent have really big windows. Just imagine if the snow's falling and you're cuddled up, you got a blanket, the fireplace is going, or you're playing board games with the kids or your wife, spouse, whomever it is kind of a magical time, and you do tend to slow down a little bit, which is attractive. So when I think about the fireplace and sitting around telling stories, whatever it might be, lifestyle wise, these are for the folks that really want to kind of slow down and just find the calm, find the joy, find the peace in the slower parts of the mountains. And honestly, it's a totally different vibe than when you're there in the summertime. Something else that people like to do in the wintertime is have an adult beverage. And there is no shortage, I can assure you, of breweries and wineries in the high country. We actually did videos each on like wineries and breweries, but then we took them down after Hurricane Helene because a lot of things had closed temporarily. I think I put the winery one back up, but unfortunately we lost some of the footage for the breweries video. But anyways, there is a ton of options. So whether it be Appalachia Brewing, which is in Boone, Booneshine, Lost Province, also in Boone. You've got Beach Mountain Brewing actually right on the mountain. You've got Kettle down in Banner Elk. There's a lot of options I think you can gather. And then the same thing with vineyards. On Beach Mountain, which is actually the backside, you have Eagle's Nest. There is a winery on Eagle's Nest. It is open to the public, but they do charge kind of a guest fee. It's $25 a person, or at least it was the last time I went to get in. You don't have access to all parts of the winery. That is reserved for members and owners within Eagle's Nest that have the membership. But you've got Banner Elk Winery, you've got Grandfather, you've got Linville. There's quite a few wineries in the area. And if you're willing to cross into Tennessee, you've got 2 more just over the border. So what I would say from a lifestyle perspective, winter, not that it's much dislike any other season, but it's kind of a time where people tend to gather around these fire pits. It's after a long day in the cold, it's kind of fun to sit around. You've got an adult beverage, it's calming, it's relaxing, it's social. In many cases, you've got a local brewery or wine, and sometimes even live music, which is pretty fun. All right, so the next thing we'll talk about is dining and mountain town kind of nights and what people do. And you've got kind of the 3 main areas, I'll say, within the high country. So we'll start with Blowing Rock, super walkable downtown. There's tons of lights. I'd say this far too frequently, and I apologize, but it just is seared. If they just had a red truck parked downtown, it literally would be a Hallmark movie set, or a Christmas Hallmark, how do you say that? Hallmark Christmas movie set. Anyways, super walkable. You've got a lot of boutique style shops. You've got restaurants. You do have the park, the gazebo. There's coffee shops. There's pastries. Pretty much anything you want is all right there. And then kind of shifting to the other side of the high country in Banner Elk, it is a really great mix of both casual and a little bit more upscale restaurants. It is certainly walkable, but not to the extent of Blowing Rock. Blowing Rock has more of a downtown feel, or walkable downtown. Certainly you can walk around Banner Elk, but it's a lot more kind of centrally located all in one area. And I'm not trying to downplay Banner Elk. It is stunning in the wintertime. And honestly, there's probably almost as many restaurants in Banner Elk as there is in Blowing Rock. So if you were to like measure this on a per square foot or mile, that kind of thing, like there's a lot to do in Banner Elk. And then the last one is Boone. That's kind of the main hub of everything. It's the college town, different energy, different vibe, all kinds of things to do, especially if you're looking for live music or performances of any kind. You've got theater, you've got arts. I mean, it's a bigger town. So from a lifestyle perspective, winter dining feels a little more intimate. In many cases, it's going to be candlelit. It's going to be, usually it's not as busy except for kind of the peak weekends versus some of the other seasons. And I'll be honest, a lot of the second home owners, they actually feel like it's more local when you're there in the winter time. So in the final section, let's think more outdoors. And I'm not just talking skiing and snowboarding. We've kind of covered some of that stuff before, but I'm thinking more like you've got UTV options and trails. You do have hiking. And it's funny because when we talk about seasonal views as it relates to real estate, we're generally talking about, because all the leaves have fallen off the trees, you have more sweeping views. So if you're open to doing hiking in the wintertime, certainly going to be less crowds. There is a little more risk, I would say, just depending on the weather, of course. But if you're prepared and have the right boots on and that, it can be a great time to hike. And there's a lot of times where it's way more seasonal than you would expect even in the winter. And there's another part of that can go along with it, but you have photography. In fact, if you've ever been to Banner Elk, there's a little red train car, I think it might even be a caboose, that sits right as you're kind of coming into downtown. A local photographer recently repurposed that. It's opened up. It's now a gallery for his work. He does a ton of winter hikes. Like, I follow him on Facebook, and it's pretty wild. He's out before the sunrise to capture these, I mean, just truly spectacular, well, sunrise and sunset pictures. And it's like, I kind of get drawn more to the fall foliage, but you should see these. Anyways, follow him. Joseph Nitty is his name. But you still have like sunrise and sunset drives. You're still going to see some wildlife out and about. It's still a pretty cool time to be outdoors. So lifestyle wise, I would just say winter is a totally different feeling. You're going to have frozen waterfalls, crisp air, really great views. It's just a different, and I talk about it all the time. The high country is truly a four-season kind of place. There you have it. So that's kind of a glimpse into winter in the high country and what people do, whether you're skiing, snowboarding, tubing, sledding, sipping on hot chocolate, having an adult beverage. It seems to really bring people together and feel like community. And if you're dreaming of owning a second home in an area where you can live this kind of winter lifestyle, reach out to us anytime. My team and I, we're here. We'd love to be a part of the process. We can create a custom search for you with property alerts that best meet the criteria that you're looking for. And if you know anyone that can benefit from this, please share the videos, like, subscribe to the channel. We want to make sure that you can live joy here too.